Yeah, the little itty bitty apples in the apple orchard. Hey guys, in today's work session, we're going to get the water put together. Now I'm not talking about the water texture, but I'm talking about the water color, especially underneath the dock. We want to get this project to the point where we can just plop this onto our diorama and fill in the scene around it so it fits in. After we get some color down, we want to get some seaweed into the mix. And I'm going to be using something that I found in my daily walks in the forest to help us recreate seaweed. We're going to get the dock on that I built off camera. I need to get these videos out a little bit quicker. We can't do a video on every little thing, otherwise we'll have a 100-part series here. So we're going to get the dock down. We're also going to create the foundation for the main building and try to get it on by the end of this episode. We still have to put decking onto the dock itself, but we'll get there. Thanks for coming and watching our show. If you want to support the show, you can support us by doing a number of things. We have a deal put together with Helicon Focus, a photographic software that allows you to combine photos of different focal points so that you have magazine quality photos. We got a 20% off deal for you, and that helps out the show as well. Also, if you don't need the photographic software and all that jazz, you could just support the show directly by patreon.com/Ron Pare. Thanks for watching, guys. You're watching Essentially Wood, a show about...
Oh, come on. It's just a show about everything you need to know about building with wood.
A few years ago, I received a DVD to review from one of the best modelers that I have ever seen in my life. Troels Kirk is a painter and landscape artist who, as an interlude to his art, created an O-scale model railroad. And the thing about Troels' work is that all of his models are scratch built, made from paper and other very cost-effective scratch building materials. So the thing that Troels Kirk was relied on as part of his model building skills was to use paint as a way to make paper look like wood, metal, all the above. And his DVD on realistic color goes a long way into showing you techniques that help you to think outside of the box to get to your final color. So what we're gonna do here is add green, a light green towards the dock, which is then going to be mixed with my army green, which is like a darker green, and then we're going to add blue for what is going to be the open water, but this is still really the beach. But I want a variation in the colors because closer to the shore we're going to have our seaweed, and this color underneath is going to kind of make that seaweed pop. I have 2 kids, and I have found that the only way to find out what's going on in their lives is to get them far, far away from any type of digital device. So I'm often taking them out into the forest to go for walks. Well, recently we're doing this in the spring, and the moss is starting to come alive with this vibrant colors. It really is the first colors in the forest to come to show up green. You know, in the spring it's the moss and in the algae of that type. So we collected a bunch of this moss because I figured that it would probably suit very nicely for seaweed up along our shore. We want our seaweed to be a yellowish, greenish color, and this in certain mosses have those colors in them. You know, I know that many mosses are straight green, but the long strand mosses, some of them really get lots of yellows in their color range. So we're gonna take our moss, we're gonna wash it under the hose, leave it out in the sun while we make sure that all the dirt's been taken out of it. And now then I take it and put it on top of my wood stove and allow it to crisp dry as I can get it. You might want to take it into the oven and put it in your oven, but my wife would never let me put this in the kitchen, so it's going on the wood stove. Now, after your moss has been totally dried and any type of bugs that are in there have been cooked away, we're gonna put this straight onto the layout. I'm not gonna treat it with any type of solution because the glue that we're gonna add to this is gonna completely penetrate the entirety of the moss. So it's both gonna preserve it and it's gonna make sure that any type of bugs that are in there are there for good. I'm using a typical scenery glue to affix the moss to the board itself. I'm doing this because I want it to be a very thin layer that I can push down on the moss consistently until it's completely dry. This way I can get my moss to sit down properly as it hardens up. I have been sharing my scale modeling experiences on YouTube free of charge for over 2 years now. In that time, I've invested a lot of time and money into this project. Projects like these need funding to grow, and I'm asking for your help. Patreon.com/Ron Pare. Every day in the news we hear about how we're losing control of security. How about if I told you that you could surf the web in total security mode all the time? TunnelBear is that tool, and I got you 40% off for an annual subscription. Just go on over to modelersguild.com/TB. In our last video, we talked about getting algae onto the break wall, and that later we would be adding rust coming down from the top of the wall. Well, it's that time, and I'm going to use a burnt sienna water-soluble oil paint. Man, that's a mouthful. I'm using the Winsor & Newton Artisan product, and what I mix mine with, I don't know if this is what everybody should be using, but this is what works for me, is I use straight turpentine. I usually find products that I can find at the hardware store and grab a big can and then start filling up a smaller bottle. So turpentine works for me because I can buy a big can for cheap. Now we want our rust to fall down the wall in such a way that it's not really streaming down the wall. We want it to kind of stain the wall, signifying that the water at the top of the wall was sitting in a puddle that had rust introduced to it, and then ran down our concrete wall, staining it rust colored. So that's what I'm attempting to do. I added barnacles to the bottom of the pilings by gluing my finest road dirt that I have. I didn't want my barnacles to be too big, but then also it ended up that I got a lot of dirt on the pilings, a lot more than I really wanted. So I'm gonna wait till it dries and try to knock a bit off with my wire brush. Now I'm pretty happy with how this little scenic base is beginning to look, and I'm thinking I might use it. I still have a way to back out of it even after I glue down the deck. And again, I'm sorry I didn't build the deck on camera, However, we're probably going to build a portion of the main decking on top on camera, so that'll give you your fix there. So I'm just gonna glue this down with some very thin scenic glue so that we try to make it not permanent. With the addition of ballast to the tracks and water around the pilings, we'll make this permanent easily. But right now we want to make it pseudo temporary, because I'm not convinced that I like it. And we're gonna leave it overnight so that it can dry completely, so our next steps we don't have to worry about it moving around. Next, I wanted to take care of these rocks that I had painted green earlier. Of course, we weren't gonna leave the rocks green, and I wanted to use up the rest of the alcohol and acrylic paint stain that I had made for the roof. And I thought that this would be the perfect task to use it on. I know I kinda add a lot here. However, there's nothing finalized about this section of the model. Until we get the water down, we can do a lot of really crazy things to experiment here. That's enough about me yakking. I'll leave the rest of this video so that you can just enjoy some modeling and see where the project's at, where we are. I'll share a few photos and stuff like that. But, you know, if you've come along on this journey, 8 videos in so far, you know, it's taken a lot of work to do these videos. You know, it's probably a full day's work for each video, you know. So 8 videos, that's a week's worth of work, you know. And if that's worth $1 to you, sure hope it's worth more than that. But, you know, I could sure use you know, the ability, like, I don't know if I'll be able to make more videos after this series is done, even if I can really afford to get all the pieces I want to finish it. So, thanks for watching these videos.